All right. So I researched the differences and the similarities between art and academia, specifically how medium affects message. And I did that by looking at a poem by one of my favorite poets and a scholarly article about school feeding programs and child development. So two subjects that I'm interested in. So I found a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. The main obvious difference was the length. The poem was only 2 pages, and then the scholarly article was much longer. The article was written with standard paragraphs, whereas the poem had short lines with line breaks, and the sentences went over lines. The article relied heavily on data through graphs, statistics, charts, all that, and the poem didn't use any numbers at all. And then the tones of the pieces were very different. Neruda's piece was much more reverent, surreal, abstract, and then the article was scholarly and concrete. But thematically, they were exactly the same. They were both talking about the power that quality food has, and how that can bring a lot of positive things to impoverished communities. They both introduced their topics. They both referenced other works, and punctuation and capitalization was standard throughout both of them. So I found a lot of pros and cons about scholarly articles. Pros are people like data and numbers, that's easy to digest. Standard sentence structures and formats make sense to people. It had a firm stance and conclusion, so it wasn't vague. It was persuasive, so people got the point. And therefore, it accesses an academic audience and a public audience, although the general public could be maybe not so understanding of more like technical, scholarly, or like even like horticultural terms. And despite all of those positives, there was little emotional connection or personal resonation, which I like poetry, so I didn't like that. But some people, it depends on the audience, so that was something I thought was interesting. Yeah, I just didn't have fun reading it, but it made total sense. So, yeah, so the poem was the opposite. I loved reading it. But it was super open-ended and ambiguous, which there's pros and cons in that own theme. It relied heavily on imagery and kind of like creating pictures, whereas the article had to provide actual pictures to put things in context. It focused on universal human themes, which the article didn't really do. So in looking at both of them together, it provided a fuller picture on the themes. So cons of that kind of ambiguous universal human themes is that it's not as accessible to academia. Like a mathematician could connect like emotionally to it, but it wouldn't connect to the field necessarily. And there's no factual evidence and it's not persuasive, except for the fact that it's emotional. It tugs at the heartstrings, all that. So my so what is together, it's 2 valuable contributions to the same conversation. So they work together despite their affordances and constraints. They target different audiences, but they have the same purpose and goal. So I just thought it was interesting to look at the similarities and differences between art and academia. How do they intertwine? Where's the line between them? And is there such a thing as academic art? Is there such a thing as artistic academia? And that's something that applies to my personal goals as a writer. And my concluding questions are just kind of how do art and academia connect to express universal human themes? And how do we break down barriers between the 2 genres? The end.